Welcome to the SCP Foundation Files Explored. Today's SCP is SCP-956. Object Class Euclid. The Child Breaker. Containment procedures are as follows. SCP-956 is to be kept in at approximately the center of a 18 by 18 by 4 meter concrete room at all times. The door is to be locked with an armed guard posted to prevent unauthorized access at all times. Entrance by research personnel into the room is only permitted once SCP-956 has entered a dormant state. Permission to bring a subject into the room must be cleared by O5 approval. To decrease the occurrences of SCP-956-1, as well as data redacted. Unless for testing, individuals fulfilling SCP-956's activation requirement are not to be brought within 200 meters of SCP-956's containment facilities. Surveillance is to be maintained through security footage at all times, with no exceptions. Redacted instances of SCP-956-1 are kept in a neighbouring room and are to be maintained at temperatures of -4 degrees Celsius in order to prevent melting or destruction. Any use of SCP-956-1 is to be authorized by at least one member of the O5 Council, and to be carried out in a room identical to SCP-956's containment chamber. Any access to SCP-956-1 created by tests with SCP-956 is to be incinerated unless authorized by personnel with security clearance level 4 or above, as are any extraneous instances of SCP-956. Description: SCP-956 appears to be a common piñata, resembling an unknown quadruped. Tests have revealed that SCP-956 is constructed of various amounts of glue, redacted, sugar, and an unidentified fur, and human tissue. SCP-956 also has shown to be highly resistant to any sort of bludgeoning-based damage, with large amounts of crushing force showing no damage to its structural integrity at all. Though the use of gunfire as well as heat and flame have shown to be very effective against this SCP. By default, SCP-956 remains in a passive state. It shows no signs of locomotion or intelligence and displays no hostility. Redacted data as follows. As long as the item's activation requirements are not met, the item will remain in its state indefinitely. See Addendum 956-A. SCP-956 enters its active state when a human under the age of 12 years old enters within classified meters of it. Approximately classified to classified seconds after entering the active zone, the child becomes unable to move, holding any stance they had at the time of entry. The victim is incapable of motion or speech, although it remains alive. Its rapidly moving eyes suggest that it remains fully aware of the situation. SCP-956 then moves towards the victim and bludgeons him or her until the torso erupts. Upon the breach, the victim's body discharges a large pile of unmarked candy, ranging from classified to substantially classified pieces. Instances of this candy are designated SCP-956-1. SCP-956 repeats this for any other immobilized victims before returning to its dormant state. A victim can be removed from SCP-956's activation range if retrieved promptly. Upon removing the victim meters away from it, SCP-956 returns to its passive state. The victim, however, shows no signs of recovering from its immobilized state, and appears to remain in such a state indefinitely. Autopsies of unbroken victims show that their body had severely dehydrated, leaving them brittle. Autopsies also revealed that pieces of SCP-956-1 had begun to grow out of the victim's own organs, using the tissue as a component for this formation. The amount of SCP-956-1 appears to be directly correlated to the time spent in 956's activation radius. SCP-956-1's effect vary upon the age of the human consuming them. Humans at the age of 12 or older go into a seizure within minutes of consumption, and with a classified possibility of cardiac arrest. There is an approximately classified chance of survival for such a subject. Animals suffer similar effects regardless of age. Children under the age of 12 undergo a somewhat different effect. They first enter a similar state to the immobilized victims of SCP-956, although they assume a standing stance, with their arms resting in front of them. Their body then, data redacted, The process takes approximately classified minutes to complete. Upon the completion, the victim has been transformed into another instance of SCP-956. These copies behave identically to SCP-956. There is 0% chance of the survival of the victim at this stage. Addendum 956-A. SCP-956 has recently begun to show locomotion outside of testing. It began to wander around its containment facilities, tracing the perimeter of the room. It did this for about an hour before staring at a spot on the wall. Review of the footage shows that it's faced this wall after deactivating during previous tests. Security has confirmed that SCP-956 is facing directly towards an elementary school. This school is classified kilometers away from the facility. Reclassification to Euclid status is requested by Dr. Classified. Data file addition. Reclassification to Euclid is granted if its effects appear to reach beyond its containment facilities. It is to be transferred to Site Classified, which should keep it far enough away from any potential victims. Retrieve any paralyzed victims of SCP-956 or any instances of 956-1 and administer Class A amnestics to witnesses and family. We don't need any more of these things running around. 05 Classified. A harmless piñata goes rogue, or simply an extra-dimensional paranormal entity. Thank you very much for attending this briefing.